A bullpen implosion causes the Cardinals to lose Game 3 to the New York Mets despite some offensive resiliency. While it's important not to be a knee-jerk reactor in baseball, you got to give things time to figure itself out. Is it time for the Cardinals to make some roster changes? I think it is time for one person in particular, but as well as a few other options. We'll talk about those as well as the offensive resiliency on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Cardinals podcast for Wednesday, May the 18th of 2022. It's a post-game edition, and I am Lucas Smith, host of the show. Thanks for tuning in, making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of the day. Even though this is a late post-game edition of Locked On Cardinals, hopefully it's your first listen of the day on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in whenever you're listening to the Locked On Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day, even when your team struggles. Even when your team claws back against Mad Max Scherzer in the second inning or third inning, and when they find a way to stay in the game, and then they give up a few runs in the middle part of the inning, and then they find a way to scratch and claw back in the eighth inning to give your team a little bit of life, and then give up a boatload more runs. Even when all those things happen, still your team every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. The game today prompted a question in my mind, or really answered a question in my mind. Well, we'll go through different game performances and things of that nature. But the question on my mind, and the prompt that I'm going to start today's show with is it time for changes to be made to this Cardinal roster? Because this bullpen this year has been a strength of this team. There's little to no question. Very low ERA for the bullpen. Got them out of some tough situations. But there also have been some players in the bullpen, pitchers in the bullpen, one might say, that plain and simple haven't gotten it done. Is it time to make some changes there? I think yes. Diving right in today, but that's really because I think that this first prompt, this first question, isn't really a question. Like, it's an easy one to me. TJ McFarland. Ali Marmol talked about a postgame that he is not on the ground as much as he has been in his career. Ground ball percentage is way down, like 13, 14% down. Giving up some home runs. Gave up a 3-run bomb to Alonso today. For his career, his ERA is 4.1. So it's not like he was some spectacular arm coming into this season. He had a spectacular year last year in 38 2/3 of an inning for the St. Louis Cardinals. And here's what's getting me. Here are the stats, the statistical numbers that tell me that something's not right with McFarland. And based on his track record of mediocre, a couple good seasons, but overall mediocre, it's time to make a change. The fact that in 13 innings, he has given up 3 home runs this year for the St. Louis Cardinals. In 38 2/3 of an inning last year, he gave up 3. In this season, he has given up the same amount of home runs in a fraction of the amount of innings. Last year, opponents hit 237 against him. This year, they're hitting 373. Last year, his whip was 1.06. This year, it is 1.85. TJ McFarland, designated for assignment, might be an option. Might be an option that the Cardinals seriously need to consider with his performance so far this season. It's nice having 3 lefties in the bullpen. It is. It's a positive. But not when one of those lefties right now is performing the way TJ McFarland is. Because right now you've got, Naughton. I guess Naughton came in for the doubleheader, so he's not there anymore. But yeah, Naughton, Cabrera, and McFarland as lefties. Naughton did not do well in his start against Baltimore last week, but he impressed yesterday in the doubleheader. Tuesday, depending on when you're listening to this. Rather see him on the major league level than TJ McFarland, to be honest with you. And I talked about it in the YouTube Open that you can't be a knee-jerk reactor to these things. You got to give things time to figure it out. That's why in segment 2, I'm going to talk about why Jordan Hicks, that starters experiment has not failed just yet. I can understand the argument that it's getting close, but it hasn't failed just yet. But if I'm sitting here as from the St. Louis Cardinals perspective, and I'm trying to accurately judge this team and see what moves can be made and see what can be done to improve this team, I'm thinking to myself, okay, play has concluded on May the 18th, at least for most of Major League Baseball at the time of this recording. A couple teams that are still playing, LA and Texas, but that's on the AL. We don't care about the AL here. But play has concluded. You're 3.5 games out of first place. You're in a wild card spot, 3 games over 500. Your run differential right now is 29 in the positive. Not bad. You're 10-8 at home. You're 10-9 on the road. You're 8-9 against teams above 500. Not terrible. Got some good success against left-handed pitching. Offense, you got some pieces to think about with O'Neill, but maybe Yepes has provided a boost, so you've made some changes there, and they've worked. That's the big key for me. Dylan Carlson was hitting leadoff. He was struggling. You moved him down, figured it out. Now he's on fire. Tommy Edman was on fire. He moved him up in the lineup, remained on fire despite a little bit of the injury bug here recently. Juan Yepes was called up. Paul DeJong was sent down, but Donovan got the starting job. That has worked out. I understand you don't want to break something you don't want to fix something that ain't broke, because this bullpen isn't necessarily 100% broke, but there need to be changes made, in my opinion, if the bullpen wants to continue to remain fixed, and you have more options than just the 2 or 3 guys at the top. TJ McFarland is an arm that I think can go, as well as Jake Walsh. Jake Walsh, 3 games. He impressed in his debut with 2 innings against Baltimore. He had 2/3 of scoreless innings against the San Francisco Giants. And then in his most recent outing today, he was charged with 4 earned runs. He did not record an out, gave up 2 hits, and walked 1. I'm not saying you don't designate him for some, you just option him back down. But I'd like to see Whitley back up. I'd like to see maybe Naughton back up for McFarland. I think those 2 changes would be appropriate. That would be an appropriate way to go about this business right now, an appropriate decision to be made based on the factors at hand. Because the bullpen, while it's a positive, it is. You need to be diligent in keeping it a positive and keeping it at its tip-top shape. And right now, I think that it's just not. At the lower end. The lower end of the totem pole is just not. Maybe McFarland was left in today to just eat it. So just, okay, we need you to eat some outs, eat some runs, take the hit for the team. And if that's the case, I watched the post-game show a lot, watched post-game comments. I don't recall Marmal saying that. If that's the case, that's the case. Those games happen. But I just think he has been really unsuccessful for quite some time this season, that it's time to execute that change. Another change that, something needs to be done, or a decision needs to be made somewhere else. We'll talk about the offense now. It's Corey Dickerson. I was a fan of the Corey Dickerson signing. I'll admit it. I wasn't the only one, by the way. But I was a fan of the Corey Dickerson signing. Well, Corey Dickerson has started the season 12 for 65. That's a 185 batting average if you're trying to keep track at home. 7 runs driven in, an on-base of 239, OPS of 554. He had a hit today. He also struck out 3 times. He's 3 for his last 17, 6 for his last 35. That is not going to cut it. Just simply not going to cut it. I forget who tweeted this out, so I apologize for any non-giving credit to. But they had mentioned the person who tweeted this idea out of DFAing Corey Dickerson. I'm not quite there yet, but it's awfully close because of how bad Dickerson has been. But bringing up Alec Burleson. Alec Burleson made a meteoric rise to the minor league system last year, guest of the show. He's got 7 home runs at 120 at-bats, 283 average, 338 on base, and OPS of 855 at the minor league level. He's slugging 517. Let the kids play. We've seen that the kids can play pretty well. Juan Yepes being prime example number 1. Changes need to be made at a certain point to this roster. I understand you need to let things ride out, certain things ride out. You need to let certain things play out. You need to give things time, see what happens on certain things. I'll talk about that point in segment 2, talking about Jordan Hicks and his start tonight, and my thoughts on Hicks going forward. But with the names I've mentioned, TJ McFarland specifically, I just think it's time to make a decision and move on. I do. He's just been unimpressive this season. And, if the Cardinals were in first place, then they had a 3.5 game cushion on first place, maybe you let McFarland ride it out a little bit. Maybe you let him try and figure it out. When you're trying to fight for the first spot in the National League Central, to get out of that wild card spot, to get out of that 3-game playoff in the wild card round, need to be a little bit more aggressive, in my opinion. That point is still true, with the following point still being true of the Jordan Hicks starting experiment has not failed. I want to see him go out there 1, maybe 2 more times before I make an ultimate decision on fail or not fail. I'll give my reasoning for that coming up in just a moment. But first, with spring in the air, my allergies can attest that spring is definitely in the air. It's a time of renewal and growth, both personally and professionally. As your small business grows, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier for the people you want to talk to get them faster, and you get them for free. You can create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then simply add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile, and that spreads the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire fast. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skill set and experience level so you can quickly prioritize who you want to interview and ultimately who you want to hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to faster. So you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Jordan Hicks tonight was not successful. He was not good. His final line, 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs. Both of those were earned. He walked 3 and struck out 5. He threw 82 pitches. 82 pitches for 4 innings. Yes, that's tall. But what gets me is the 39 strikes. 39 strikes out of 82 pitches. If you're rounding up, that's 48%. That's .475. So if you're rounding up, that's 48% strike. It's a 48 strike percentage. That cannot happen. However, he also was able to register 5 strikeouts. His slider tonight was really good. All 5 strikeouts coming on the slider. He talked about a little bit in the post game that his step wasn't right, his drive was a little bit off. So maybe that was the reasoning. That was why the fastball was what it was, and how ineffective and couldn't find the strike zone. Had a little seeing eye signal in the first inning that didn't help. But the reason that I'm going to kind of pump the brakes on Jordan Hicks, there's a couple different reasons that I say wait. Don't make a decision yet. And I understand, I get the argument that it's time. I can understand how somebody would get to that reasoning, is what I want to say. Because he's got 8 games so far, 6 of them starts, 25 2/3 of an inning, and a 4.21 ERA. He's 1-3. I can comprehend how someone would get to the end goal of saying, hey, this experiment is over. We need to try something else. I understand that. I will counter with a couple different points. First of all, despite the bad fastball, the bad stuff, the lack of control, he found a way to keep his team in the game and give his team a chance to win. He was on a pitch count today. It was around 85, he said. He got 82. He was done. He was still able to find a way. That, to me, was a big factor in my thought process right now of letting him get another start, of not giving up on Hicks as a starter just yet. I also want to see what he wants to do with a no pitch count limit. He mentioned it that it will likely be a no pitch count limit game next time out, or the better way to phrase that, it won't be a reduced pitch count limit. It'll be a regular pitch count. You just go out there. We'll see what we can do. Like, it's not going to be, we got to get you at 85. We got to get you at 75. No. He's going to go out there and pitch. I think that's going to do more for the mental side of him than people realize, at least in game. Because if you have a limit, they have the pitch counters up there on the stadiums. You know what your pitch count is at all times. It adds stress. You press a little bit. You change the way you throw. I think whenever he's able to just go out there and just pitch and just realize, I'm going to be out here as long as I can be out here no matter what my pitch count is, that could free him up a lot more. Let him have the opportunity to go 5, 6, maybe even 7, if he's able to keep his pitch count down, 7 innings. So while I say all of this in the positive for Jordan Hicks, of giving him another starter, not giving up on him as a starter, there are obviously concerns. The lack of ability to find the control is concern number 1. Because his whip right now stands, at a 1.21. That's respectable. But there's also plenty of things to be worried about when you look at the strike percentage. Strike percentage is just at 57%. That's a little bit low. And you're walking a ton. That's the big number to me. His last 3 appearances, he pitched 4 1/3 innings against San Francisco on the 6th. 2 walks in just 4 1/3. He walked 2 5 innings against the Giants in his next time out. And tonight he walked 3 against the Mets. The walks and lack of control is obviously a concern, but I will agree with him, and I will agree with Ali Marmol, that they chalk tonight's start, simply up to a bad day. To one of those days where it's just not clicking, the mechanics aren't there. So I am not ready to give up on Jordan Hicks as a starter yet. I'm not. I think he has the stuff to do it. Clearly, he has the desire to do it. I think he's going to be able at some point to put it all together and be a starter this year, and a successful one. Maybe not a top of the line, ace level starter, right? Obviously. But a comparable starter that's going to give you 5 to 6 innings and allow you to trust him to do that. Jordan Hicks is going to get another start or 2 from me before I am ready to say, Ixnay on the Hicks starter, Is that pig Latin? I don't know. I feel like that's something that people used to do. But he's going to get another start for me before I'm ready to give up on him as a starter full-time. Continuing with this theme to finish up this segment of letting things play out and just giving people more of an opportunity, I want to talk about Juan Yepez for just a moment. Juan Yepez has burst onto the scene. When you look at his overall numbers to start, his first 49 career at-bats, 306 batting average, 370 on base, 490 slugging for an 860 OPS. Got a couple of home runs, 3 doubles. Yeah, it's pretty solid. But the league is starting to adjust to Juan Yepez. I say that because in his last 7 games played, he's 5 of 27 with a home run, 1 RBI, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. That 5 for 27 and 3 runs scored is good for a 185 average, a 267 on base, and a 296 slugging. Juan Yepez went on a tear to end last year, so he has the prolonged arena of success. He went on a tear to start this year at the minor league level. So once again, another prolonged season of success, or another prolonged time of success. In 22 games, he hit 9 home runs, had a 279 batting average, and a 651 slugging to start this year at Memphis. I want to see how quickly he's able to adjust. I'm not anywhere close to giving up on Juan Yepez as a baseball player. Not anywhere close to giving up on Juan Yepez as an offensive player. But I do want to see how he is able to adjust to Major League pitching. That is a mark of a rookie that is ahead of schedule, that is ahead of his time. If he's able to adjust to the league quickly. Because the league's going to adjust to you. We see it all the time with rookies. Carlson went through it. Evan went through it, what seemed like for a whole year. Yepez is going through a little mini one right now. How quickly is he able to bounce back and get back to the Juan Yepes that got him to the major leagues? That's what I want to know. I also want to know your thoughts on the last couple subjects. What are your thoughts on TJ McFarland, on the changes that this Cardinal roster could be seeing in the next couple of days? What are your thoughts on Jordan Hicks as a starter? Seen some people that really like it, some people that are still against it. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think should happen? Comment in the YouTube comment section below. Email me, lockedoncards@gmail.com. DM me on Twitter at LJFastball. DM the show on Twitter, Instagram at LO_Cardinals. Let's have a conversation. I want to know what your thoughts are on today's subjects. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you might notice back at Columbia apartment for just a day. Tomorrow we'll be back figuring some things out with connectivity and background and things of that nature. But back to a 100% secure connection and background today. So hope you guys have enjoyed that. But to finish up the show, we're going to talk about the offense. Talking about it every day because the offense every day gives you something new to talk about. There were some good things from the offense today, despite losing 11-4. So we'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. I love brownies. I do. Love brownies. My fiance also loves brownies. But you know what I love more than brownies? Brownie batter. Whenever you're making brownies, you always got to get some. Sometimes I eat half the batter while I'm making the brownies anyways. Maybe not quite half, but up there. Imagine if you could lick that brownie spatula clean and get some protein in. You all know where I'm going with this, and you're in luck because Built has a new creation, and this one is better than ever. The Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. This puff takes protein bars into a whole new level, and they're available right now on Built.com. Have you not tried the Built Puffs yet? That's okay. I'm not sure what you're waiting for, because Puffs are a chocolate-covered marshmallow protein bar. You heard me correctly. Delicious flavored marshmallows covered in 100% real chocolate. With 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar, Brownie Batter Puffs are the perfect pick-me-up for any day. All Built Puffs, are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. The Brownie Batter Puffs will have you completely forgetting that you're eating a protein bar. No need to pinch yourself. This is real life. Go to Built.com and get the Brownie Batter Puffs now or any other Built Bar product by going to Built.com and using the promo code LOCKED15. LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Once again, use that promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. The offense today was able to muster up 10 hits, got 4 runs, saw a double from Dylan Carlson against Scherzer in the second. You saw a home run from Arenado off of Seth Lugo in the 8th, a couple extra base hits. 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position, so only 4 at-bats with runners in scoring position. They stranded 7 runners. Had 1 caught stealing, grounded into 1 double play, and had 1 runner thrown out at second base. That was Nolan Arenado. And even though Max Scherzer didn't have his A-plus stuff, and even though Max Scherzer had to leave the game due to injury, so you figure he wasn't at 100%, although I do want to say I hope Max Scherzer gets well for the game of baseball's sake, that he's able to get back out there quickly. But I thought the offense today was a mixture of resiliency plus struggle. You saw the struggle in the 9th inning to get anything going. They struck out. They did strike out 9 times, which isn't terrible, but isn't great either. But the resilient part of it was able to get back in the game against Mad Max. Albert Pujols hitting one down the right field line. The struggle part was not being able to muster up anything outside of the 4 runs to 10 hits. You saw Molina and Pujols both strand runners in scoring position with 2 outs tonight. But overall, despite not getting the win, despite only scoring 4 runs, this offense left a little bit, there was a little bit to be happy about from this offense. Mainly the fact that Albert Pujols got 2 hits and is now 10th all-time in hits in Major League Baseball history. Nolan Arenado had 2 hits, including the clutch home run. And Dylan Carlson had himself a 3-hit day, and he scored 1 time, and Dylan Carlson did not strike out. Dylan Carlson has figured it out after a slow start to the season. His last 15 games, he's 17 for 52. That's a 327 average. Got a 375 on base, and he's slugging .538. Had 2 home runs in those last 2 weeks, last 52 at-bats. Really nice to see Carlson finally get it going. When he is going, it looked like he's swinging at a beach ball. It's just a slow, smooth, deliberate swing, a little bit long, which is what gets him into trouble at times, but it's just right through the zone when he's right. And when he's right, he hits the ball all over the yard with authority, with some power. Really good to see him perform well. The next step for this offense will be to not struggle in a quick turnaround tomorrow. 12-10 first pitch, and they're going up against Chris Bassett, who's having a phenomenal year, and who B, has had success against the Cardinals this year. Point A, he's 4-2 in 7 starts with a 2.34 ERA and a whip of 1.02. Point B, in his start against St. Louis's last start of April, he threw 6 shutout innings, gave up 2 hits, hit a man, walked 3, and struck out 6. Cardinals will be sending Dakota Hudson to the mound. Dakota Hudson, similar to Jordan Hicks, needs to find that control. In his last time out, he walked 2, threw out 5 shutout innings. That's solid. Start before that, he walked 4 and 4 2/3. Unsolid. Not good. Dakota Hudson, when he's right, is getting ground balls, is not walking batters, and he's keeping the ball on the ground. But offensively speaking, just to finish up that point before the show wraps up, offensively speaking, there are some good things from the Cardinal offense. I'd like to see Evan back in the lineup, so hopefully he's able to get things spark at the top of the lineup for St. Louis going forward, because when he's in the lineup, I just feel better about it, to be honest with you. He's having a really good year, still in some bags, playing really solid defense, having a good year offensively speaking. So hopefully he's back in the lineup tomorrow. And it'll be interesting to see where Carlson is placed tomorrow. And we'll likely see O'Neill again tomorrow. So we'll see what happens with him and see if he's been struggling. Well-documented struggles. We'll see what he's able to do. But the offensive resiliency needs to be there again tomorrow if the Cardinals want to try and earn a split. It's not going to be easy with Chris Bassett on the mound. Tomorrow's show will come out after the game because of the late post-game here. We'll have an afternoon post-game tomorrow after the 12-10 game against the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals. Be sure to drop a comment. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you have not already Locked On Cardinals on YouTube, be sure you're subscribing to the baseball podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Make your next listen Locked On MLB with Paul Francis Sullivan, but be sure to call him Sully as he brings you his unique perspective on the majors, both past and present. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like this one. Thanks for tuning in today, ladies and gentlemen. Until I talk to you the next time, be sure to stay safe, stay well, and have a fantastic rest of your day.